Welcome to Plastic Model Mojo, a podcast dedicated to scale modeling, as well as the news and events around the hobby, where we hope to be informative and entertaining and help you keep your modeling mojo alive. Dave, we are back again. It's been 2 weeks. Can't hardly believe it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So how are you doing?
I'm great, man. There's a lot been going on. What's been up in your model sphere the last couple of weeks? Anything delightful?
Well, actually, my Mojo is returning. First of all, I want to thank everybody that I must have sounded a little more down last episode than I realized, because we had a number of listeners reach out to give me encouragement. And I want to tell you, I appreciate all of you for doing so.
Bunch of get well cards.
Yeah, exactly. My Mojo's back. I've gotten several sessions in on the M30. We'll talk about later. My problem isn't so much now Mojo. It is just the fact that with spring here, there's there are more demands on my time, so I have less time at the bench. I've got to do yard work. Luckily, I've got good podcasts from Australia to listen to while I'm on my riding mower cutting my grass.
Maybe they'll go bi-weekly again, so you can make it through summer.
Yeah, really. Well, they're bi-weekly now. Maybe they'll go weekly again.
Well, weekly. I'm sorry. Yes. Maybe they'll go back to weekly. And
yeah, just for me.
Just for you, Dave.
Just for me. So what's your model sphere looking like?
Well, I posted it to Facebook, but I finally tracked down the issue of the old Karsten's publication, Military Modeler, not the British magazine, but the American Military Modeler,
right?
Not Modeling, which was the first modeling periodical I ever bought ever. And added it to the nostalgia collection. plus 5 other issues that came with it for like a whopping $6.
Well, yeah, you can pick up old modeling magazines off eBay really cheap.
It's interesting. We were talking earlier before we went live about how I thought these things smelled bad, but
no, I love the smell of old modeling magazines, man. And like I was saying, one of the best smells in the world is to walk into an old used bookstore.
God, I hope I'm not as yellow and faded as these things.
Well, Robin loves you anyway.
I hope so. Golly.
So, Mike, what are you sipping on for your modeling fluid tonight?
Oh man, Dave, I got something good. I'm sipping on Eagle Rare from Buffalo Trace.
Nice.
Yeah, man, it's pretty good. It's a 10-year from Buffalo Trace. It's about 110 proof. It's a very good bourbon. And this one's especially good because it's a gift. It was given to me because of some good things have been going on in my life that we won't get into just yet, outside of the model sphere even. But thank you, Linda and Clinton. Very, very much appreciated. They've kind of been with me on this journey for the last few months, and it's come to fruition, and they gifted me with a really nice bottle of bourbon that I'm plugging here on the podcast.
Hey, listen, the best kind of bourbon is free bourbon. But yeah, Eagle Rare is good stuff. The head partner at our law firm has a nice little liquor collection in his office, and occasionally we'll share a sip on a Friday afternoon. And Eagle Rare is one of the ones he's shared, and I've got to tell you, it was a fantastic sip.
Well, before we get into yours, let's back up to my model sphere again. That's something I meant to say that I forgot. It's right here.
Right.
My outline's right here in front of me, and I blew it. I tell you, it's amazing how much the hobby has advanced since that 1980 issue of Military Modeler.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being mind blown as a 12-year-old when I bought that magazine on our way to on vacation, and to be honest, most of the stuff in there by today's standards really isn't that good.
Oh, yeah. I keep saying we live in the golden age of modeling, and it is absolutely true. Stuff that 30 years ago was cutting edge. Go back and look at old modeling magazines. Look at stuff that when Francois Verlinden hit the scene, his stuff was just, he and Pruneau and all of that. Their stuff was just something nobody had ever seen. And now you go back and look at them, and it's like, well, that's okay. It just, the hobby itself, the technology and all of that, the artistry that has come into the hobby, really, it's a completely different world.
Well, now that I've co-opted your modeling fluid, let's get back to that.
That's
What
all
are
right.
What are you enjoying tonight, Dave?
Well, what I am enjoying is Raging Eagle from Yingling. It is a mango ale. It reminds you of Blue Moon's Mango Wheat, which I enjoy as a summer beer. Speaking of yard work, it's a beer I enjoy as a summer beer when I'm doing yard work. This is very similar, although it's not quite as mango forward. It's about 6% alcohol by volume, so it's a full beer, but it's not ridiculously alcoholic. Something that you can enjoy. It's a beautiful golden color, and I sent you a picture that you can put up with the episode. I am drinking the beer from my official Kentucky Derby glass for this year's 147th running of the Kentucky Derby. And for listeners who don't know, you might go onto the great Google machine and Google Kentucky Derby official glass. It's a tradition that dates back 75, 85 years, or probably even longer than that. Every year they release an official glass with an illustration and then the list of all the winners. And I picked up this year's glass, and I'm using it to enjoy the modeling fluid.
Well, there you go, everybody. You can order yourself up a Kentucky Derby glass.
Absolutely.
It's more fun to get them with a mint julep in them, though.
You know what? This won't get me kicked out of Kentucky because you hear this.
Well, it might.
You hear this expressed a lot by Kentuckians, but I am not particularly a mint julep fan. Mint juleps to me are just too sweet and kind of a waste of good bourbon, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you don't make them with good bourbon.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. For the listeners out there, if you're going to watch the Derby and celebrate Derby Day and have yourself a little Derby party, and you're going to make mint juleps because it's part of the tradition.
And Derby pie.
Right. Do not use good bourbon. Use cheap bourbon because it makes no difference to the drink.
Well, the listener mail keeps on coming, Dave.
I know, man. I know.
But it's fun. It's fun. I like it.
Oh, absolutely. That's how we live for that. The community, the listeners.
We ought to get into it.
Yep.
All right. First up is Aaron Smith from Seville, Ohio. Now, where is that? Besides Ohio. Don't say Ohio.
Okay, well, you ruined the joke. I don't know where Seville is. I know where a lot of places in Ohio are, but I don't know where Seville is.
Well, he'll have to tell us or we'll have to look it up.
Yep.
Let's see. I highlighted some of his. Aaron says that he just started listening to the podcast last week, and he's listened to several episodes, but has not made it through all of them yet. Well, thank you for finding us and diving into it. We appreciate that.
And we appreciate you going back and listening to back episodes.
I've discovered I'm not alone in the rabbit hole issue. Well, I think there's a big crowd in that room there, Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Research paralysis, I believe, is a thing now with so many images and information available instantly. Aftermarket support and the technology that is available to us in 3D printing, photo etching, and decal printing. It's a wonder we get anything done.
Yep.
I resemble these remarks.
I completely agree. And the internet has just made it worse because of the fact that you do have all of that information at your fingertip.
Add in choosing the correct kit or kits if kit bashing. We can spend hours prior to even opening the box.
Yes.
It has definitely taken time away from actual modeling, but at the same time has opened doors to obscure references and schemes and that make the hobby more interesting. I agree with that. It's called rabbit holes, by the way.
I do think it can also in some way make you a little more efficient in that if you take advantage, there are lots of reviews of every kit out there, and I'm not talking inbox reviews, I'm talking actual build reviews. And if you go and watch a couple of YouTube reviews or read a couple of reviews online, they can really save you time, because every kit has a quirk or two. Even the best of kits has a quirk or two that, listening or watching somebody go before you and build it may save you a headache. So I'm all for going in and doing a little research on the kit you're building.
He says it's also helped him improve his modeling so he can attempt something like this. And this is a picture of a Soviet Mi-6 helicopter. He's got the A model kit in his stash. And that's a big honking helicopter.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is. That and the Mi-26 are just two huge freaking helicopters.
It's like a Chinook with only one rotor.
Yep.
Holy moly.
Yep.
Well, good luck on that, Aaron. Helicopters aren't easy. I bet big ones are even less so.
I have not built a helicopter and there's some that I would like to build, but I will be honest with you. To me, it's almost a dark art. It's different enough from aircraft modeling that I think it would be a real challenge for an aircraft modeler to build a helicopter kit.
Maybe. Well, to get to the meat of his listener mail, one thing I would like to suggest is to mention your can't do withouts when it comes to supplies, tools, etc. Mr. Color Leveling Thinner is one of mine.
Yes.
And which I've heard mentioned on the podcast. Almost every podcast, we sneak that in.
Yep.
And we just did.
There you go. That's on the bingo card, by the way. If you guys are listening to the episode and you've got the Plastic Model Mojo bingo card, you can check off unicorn tears.
Another is MIG extra thin cement. I didn't know MIG sold cement. I wonder if he meant Tamiya, or I could be wrong.
No, I think MIG does have their own extra thin cement.
No, I know AK came out with cement, so I guess MIG had to do it too.
Exactly.
That's how this works, right?
Yes. Especially with those two companies.
All right. Hearing what works from people who possess the skills above mine helps me make informed decisions and helps my modeling money go farther.
Yes.
Well, let's see. I made a show note. My can't do without is Mr. Surfacer 500 in the jar.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Well, mine are, and I have several, unicorn tears.
Nope, can't use that one.
Mr. Surfacer 500 in the jar, Mr. Surfacer 1500 black in the rattle can, and the God Hand cutters, sprue cutters. I could do without almost anything else, but those I really have to have.
Well, you just made Aaron spend $120, Dave.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Aaron.
Up next is Richard Capp from Clovis, California. Before we get to Richard, both our modeling fluids have eagle in the name. Did you get that?
Oh, you're right. Raging Eagle. Huh. Well, that worked out. We didn't plan that.
We did not. Kismet.
Yeah.
All right, Richard, back to you. He's a mechanical engineer, so we got something in common.
Exactly.
He's got a long history of building balsa radio-controlled airplanes and gliders, but he's decided that as he's grown older, that the building process is more enjoyable than the flying, so he's moving over to static models.
I understand.
As an engineer, I did the obligatory several-month-long over-analysis before deciding that 1/35th scale armor would be the way to go or the way to start. I wonder if 72nd scale aircraft was his other plan.
I was going to ask if you feel seen from this email, man.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
we got a little bit in common.
Uh-huh.
He's building his way through the quote champion scale models YouTube channel's beginner's guide to armor modeling playlist. Now that's a sequential kind of playlist from opening the box to getting it painted and finished.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know if we know of any other YouTube channels focusing on aircraft that have a similar format. I do not know of anything. Do you?
I do not either. But that is, there's an opportunity for somebody. If you're out there listening and you're starting to dive into YouTube or, do construction videos, there's an open lane for you.
He also likes scale models, but that another YouTube channel, but they don't do these progressive series of videos, but just individual topics like most folks do.
Right.
Tell you, if you like the individual topics, you need to check out Chris Wallace's The Model Airplane Maker.
Yes. He has just started doing videos, but the ones that he has are just really, really excellent. I mean, I highly recommend them.
I tell you one, it doesn't go from construction. I don't think it does. I could be wrong. It's 20 some episodes long, so I might have forgot. But Adam Wilder's KV1 build.
No, it is. You are correct. Your memory serves you right. It starts at the painting stage. It goes. In fact, I think he has the base coat on it when he starts the series, and it is like 20 or 26 episodes of just weathering steps.
So it's a great series.
Oh yeah,
and you can have a little fun with it. Get you a big bottle of bourbon or scotch or about a 24 can case of beer. And every time Adam Wilder says the word subtle, you take a drink.
Oh, no, man. You're going to send him to the hospital.
Not to dig on Adam, but there's not a whole lot subtle in that model once it's done. And I just think it's funny that he uses the word so much.
But it is beautiful. I mean,
it is.
It really is super impressive.
All right. Hope that helps, Richard. If not, we'll do better next time, I guess. Frank Whitner from Casa Grande, Arizona. Hey, guys. I was just re-listening to the past episode and thought of a possible topic, kit bashing. How many kits are you willing to use to make one model that you want to build?
There is a very famous article from, I think, Scale Models back in the 70s or 80s. And this is before the Hasegawa Emily kit came out. And some guy kit bashed together an Emily from 6 or 7 different kits to make the big Japanese 4-engine flying boat. And I'm sure he was probably the guy who ended up getting us the Emily because, of course, after you do a giant kit bash like that, somebody announces a kit of what you just bashed together. But how many kits did you sacrifice on the SU-76?
Well, just one.
Just the one?
It's the only kit there was. But back to his email. He's building an M32B2 tank recovery vehicle, which is used by the Marines in the Pacific Theater. And so far, he's up to 3 kits, a set of tracks, and some 3D printed stuff. My answer would be as many kits as it takes. I don't really have a limit. I'm in the planning phase of a BM13 Katyusha on a ZIS 6 truck, and I'm up to 4 kits, large and small, to make that happen. That's just the way it goes. I don't really care.
And then you'll find some use for the spare parts down the road, right?
Or not. He goes on for me and says, I was looking for this Scharnhorst turret from Model Collect.
Right.
He recommends their paper Panzer kit.
The P1000
or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
He's got the turret. He said it's missing a gun, but they've actually re-released a kit that's got a 3-gun turret on it.
They released it both ways.
So I'm probably going to get that. And then, I don't know. I got to have a lot of crap to get rid of after that.
True enough.
So kit bashing, sky's the limit, man. 50 kits. I don't care. It's all
Spoken
fun.
like a true engineer.
I guess so. Oh, and his modeling fluid is a pot of percolator coffee.
Oh, you know what? The only problem is because of my essential tremor, I've had to cut caffeine out of my life completely. So pot of coffee done. Although you know what, my modeling friend Skippy, he actually before he sits down to model in the evenings, he will actually have a cup of coffee. That just amazes me.
I couldn't do it. I hate coffee.
I like coffee, but I have to drink decaf now.
Well, Kip Jackson's back, and he gave us his geography this time.
Good.
Is it Saline or Saline, Michigan?
I think Saline, but I don't know for sure.
All right. Well, he's got a good one here. You'll like this. This can be all you, Dave.
Oh, good.
While I'm unable to attend the national convention this year in Las Vegas, I've been wondering about a specific aspect of what seems to be a convention fave, the vendor room.
Oh, God. How much time do you have?
Hang on. It gets a little more specific than that.
Okay.
Since I've never attended a state or regional, and in quotes, he just joined the IPMS last week for the first time. So thank you for that. Got another one, Dave.
All right. Reel another one in.
So not many conventions. How do people who purchase things in the vendor room get their new stash items home? Seems like taking them on an airplane, assuming one flew there to get there, would be prohibitively expensive and fraught with danger. How do people handle this? Buy it and have them shipped home? Also, do you take your wives?
All right. If I drive to a convention, obviously it's not a problem. Your car with enough room in the trunk or in the way back on a minivan, you're set.
Or the boot for folks who don't live in the United States.
That's right. If you've flown to a convention, I will tell you, I generally take a spare suitcase. And that spare suitcase is empty when I fly out. And when I fly back, that spare suitcase is full. If I buy things in the vendor room that are the least bit delicate, let's say some fine resin or something like that, those things I'll put in my carry-on, sandwiched between my clothes and all of that to protect it. Now, after 9/11, when restrictions came in about what you could take on airplanes, I think the convention or either 1 or 2 years after that was Phoenix. And Terry Hill and I went to Phoenix that year. And what they had arranged was they actually had a mobile UPS site at the convention set up in the vendor room. So you could take all of your purchases, take them over to the UPS kiosk and pack them up and ship them. And that's what we did, because we bought for a lot of members of the club. And so we had a box that I think was something on the order of 50 pounds. And we shipped it back to Terry's office, and then had real fun unpacking it when it arrived a few days later. In general, again, if it's a car, it's not a problem. If you fly, a spare suitcase, if you buy something that you can't take on the airplane, then you can locate the local UPS or USPS and mail it. Wives. In general, I attend the nationals with my modeling friends. There are a couple of exceptions. Mike and I both attended the Oklahoma City convention with our wives, which was really nice, because Oklahoma City is a very nice town. And with both of our wives there, they could spend time together during the day, which freed us up to be at the convention. The only other times I've taken my wife to a convention have been the 2 Disney conventions, Anaheim in 2007, I think 2007, and then Disney in 2012. And obviously I took the wife and the children to those because they were co-located with Disney, and that's it's a chance to work in a Disney vacation. The one in Orlando at Disney World was really fantastic because we got the most amazing room rate for the convention out of Disney, and it was a great time. So I know some people complained about it, and I don't think the vendors are actually happy about having conventions co-located with tourist attractions like that, because they feel like it takes the attendees away from the convention and hurts their sales.
Well, I understand, because Disney's second only to the Internal Revenue Service from separating you and your money.
That's right. And the only difference between the two of them is Disney will leave you with a smile when they do it.
Tim Cavalier's back. You know, we ribbed Tim last episode for having more paint than he let on in his email. And he says it wasn't so much about storing them for storage's sake, but rather keeping them organized.
I agree. That is the single biggest difficulty with paint is organization. And unfortunately, I'm not the world's most organized human being.
I come up deficient on this topic because I build so slow that I probably have a smaller paint collection than a lot of modelers, to be honest.
Yeah, it's because yours dry. If you bought a lot, it would dry out.
Exactly. But he's been using some plastic totes and things to organize those things. You know, I was thinking, and I'm going to finish up my workshop here hopefully this year, and paint storage has been something, because he talks about using copier paper box tops, and that's what all my paint's in right now. So
yeah.
So Tim, we got something in common there. But you know, you see all these laser cut, these stair step type paint organizers that sit on your workbench. That just takes up a bunch of space.
Yes. The vast majority of my paint collection, I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drawer cart from IKEA. And it's fairly deep, probably, I guess 2.5 feet deep. So it has these really deep drawers, and it's actually, it can be on wheels. I didn't put the wheels on mine. It is perfect for storing paint. And I basically have a drawer with each brand of paint. I mean, I've got one for White Ensign models. I've got one for Life Color and Mission. I've got one for Model Master. Tamiya and Alclad and AK are together in a drawer. And the only downside with that is if you're dealing with paints that, like the Model Master paints, you know, you're looking at a bunch of tops and you can't tell what color is what. So you have to go through them all to find the color you're looking for. So I'm still working on the organizational solution for that, but it is a great way to store your paint.
He also says a fun fact about unicorn tears. So you can take another drink there.
Yeah, that's right.
I was listening to an old Scale Model podcast, episode 28, and Anthony mentioned Mr. Color thinners, and I didn't realize, but the different thinners were designed for different Mr. Color paints.
Yes.
Unicorn Tears, or which one? That's the leveling thinner.
Right.
Is designed for the gloss colors.
I have heard that.
And Mr. Rapid Thinner, it was designed for the flat paints. And he provides a link that was also provided on Scale Model Podcast. We'll put that in the show notes as well. That explains a little bit of this. But I tell you what's interesting, though, that was the intent, I'm sure.
Yes.
But I wonder how much of the Rapid Thinner they sell now, because a lot of, particularly in armor, the modern techniques in armor no longer desire necessarily a flat finish for the base coat.
Absolutely. I do think that that's probably true. And therefore, I think that explains part of the popularity of the unicorn tiers, because it gives you a more, even with working with a flat paint, it gives you a more satin finish.
Dana Coe from Martinsburg, West Virginia.
I know exactly where Martinsburg is. Go Mountaineers.
Love your podcast and your modeling fluids. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
I do not have space for a spray booth, nor the expertise. Well, you'll get the expertise when you get one and
yes.
You dive into it. That's your plan for getting better there, Dana.
That's right.
I rattle can the majority of the outer areas, and then when I can brush paint the internal or smaller parts, could your show discuss the intricacies associated with brush painting?
First of all, okay, let me give you my 2 cents. One, airbrush as much as possible, but I understand, particularly with interiors, plenty of people brush paint. The key to brush painting is finding the right paint. The Tamiya acrylic paints are awful for brush painting, whereas the Vallejos, some of the stuff Mike was mentioning about the stuff that is for like Warhammer and figure paint, the Scale 75, and I think
Citadel
and P3.
Face the mic, Dave.
Sorry, P3. Those are made to be brush painted, and you get much better results using a paint that's meant to be brush painted. It is one place where, in general, acrylics work better than enamels for brush painting. Experiment around a little with all the different brands and find what works for you. One of the best things I ever came across in regard to painting, particularly brush painting cockpit interior details, Diego Quinano did a series of 5 books on building model aircraft. And one of them is solely focused on interiors and gear bays and stuff like that. And it is, a lot of modeling books are pretty picture books, but you don't learn a lot. Those books, you learn something on every single page. And I highly recommend them. They are not cheap. If you buy them in a set, the set is like 6 books, and it's close to $200. But I consider it a really good investment.
Another thing he mentions is that he's been modeling 48 scale Navy aircraft flown by his father.
Oh, wow.
His father went through training between 1957 and 1960, and in June of 1960, he died in a carrier training launch.
Oh, wow. That is some of the golden age of naval aviation. There's some great aircraft from that period.
But as a tribute to his father, he's completing all these planes, and he's completed a Minicraft T-34B and a Hobbycraft F9F2, F9F-2, and an F3H-2 Demon.
Yep.
All planes he flew. And he personalized the F3H-2 to the actual plane his father flew, and he sends a picture of that. So it's a really sharp looking little jet. Yep.
It is very attractive airplane. You have to put that on the Facebook page.
We'll have to. So good luck working through those planes.
Yep, absolutely.
Currently he's a one model at a time builder, and unfortunately Gumball Head is 100 miles away from him. Is it worth the drive, or should he just spend the money on the bullet?
No, it's worth the drive.
Nah, I don't know. I'd go for the bullet and pick up the Gumball Head when you can. That's a long way, man.
Yeah, if you travel over to an area where it's available, for any other reason, make a point of stopping by a grocery store or someplace and pick it up, because it is worth it.
Next up is Renee Gingras from Charlestown, Massachusetts, which is in the greater Boston area there.
Yeah, and in fact, there's a whole movie about it called The Town.
You might want to loosen up your hat band, Dave.
Why?
Dave, to me, is old school. He's smart with his knowledge.
Oh, God. Oh, Lord.
He's smart with his knowledge, and he knows how to use it. He sounds more qualified than me to be at any modeling show, and knows how to hold his own. Very knowledgeable.
Okay. Either my mother or my wife wrote in that email.
Well, it wasn't your wife.
That's true.
Mike, to me, is laid back and attentive to his wants and desires of models. That's not bad.
I
like that.
That's not a bad epitaph.
Thank you, Renee. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We're having fun with it, but we do appreciate it. His modeling fluid of choice is Mountain Dew.
Again, another high caffeine item. I don't see how these guys suck down large amounts of caffeine and model. It just, I mean, that's really fine motor control.
I think so. Doesn't drink a lot now, but he never latched onto the Pabst Blue Ribbon or the Schlitz his dad used to drink. So,
Ooh, thank God.
Okay. That's okay. He's working his way through the back catalog, and the one he's loved most so far is John Miller, episode 30, Dr. Strangebrush.
You're with a lot of people. We're going to have Dr. Miller back on soon because that was an extremely popular episode. And listen, I will tell you from having spent a lot of time talking with John, I've never come away from a conversation with him without having learned new things.
So, yes, look for John to be back on the show in the coming month or so here. We're trying to get him on. We got a busy slate of potential episodes coming up. We're trying to get him worked in. We're talking to him right now. So, and he goes on to say he lives in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and he's never been to a modeling show or ventured into a modeling club. He says, you've got him on the ropes to join one, Dave. So you're doing your job.
Do it. I am telling you, there is nothing more enjoyable than sitting around with fellow modelers talking about models. I mean, we love building models and we enjoy doing it. I mean, it's kind of a solitary hobby as far as that goes. But the social aspects of joining a modeling club and going to a model contest, it opens up a whole new world. And if you're not doing that, you're missing out on some of the best parts of modeling.
Well, he asked for a little guidance in his area, so I got on the IPMS USA website and got on their chapter list. Renee, you're going to want to look into the club in Bellrica or the one in Peabody. Those are going to be your closest options. They're both about, I don't know, 20, 25 miles away, something like that.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. Well, it's not bad for us. That might be murder in Boston metro area. I don't know.
Well, ever since the big dig, I hear the Boston metro's traffic is much better.
Okay. Well, maybe there's hope.
Yeah.
All right. Finally is Duncan Young from Guelph, Ontario. He's written in before.
I know where Guelph is.
So I just finished listening to episode 34 and enjoyed the discussion on your collective approach to tackling weathering. I'm about to move forward with the paint and weathering on my current project, a TACOM T55A in Iraqi service.
Oh, what a great kit.
But I've been hesitant out of fear of screwing it up after a lengthy build.
Yep. I feel this one to the soul, man.
Well, he's been listening, so here's what he's going to do. I sidestepped this afternoon to knock out an older Italeri kit I've been kicking around in the stash to use as a paint and weathering test mule.
He's channeling you, Mike.
Well, you do it too, Dave.
Yeah, but no, you just over the weekend posted on the Facebook page.
Yeah, you're right. Threw together a new mule.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
And he also wants to say thank you to you, Dave, for your assistance and encouragement earlier in the year regarding putting together the club newsletter.
Well, I'm glad to help. As a longtime editor, I am more than happy to help.
So he's forwarded us the inaugural issue of Bomb Sight for IPMS Hamilton.
All right.
So there you go.
Did you have it translated from Canadian into English?
Not yet. I'll work on that.
You have to remove all the A's.
Yeah, I think so. And the occasional French epitaph.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's the listener mail. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of good ones this time.
That was. I'm telling you, you guys, keep writing, keep interacting with us. This is why we do this. This is the enjoyment that we get out of it. It's fun as all get out. And while you're doing all of that...
Oh, hang on, Dave. We're not done yet.
You've wrapped up listener mail. It's time for the plug.
No, it's time to say if they wish to write listener mail, they can do so at plasticmodelmojo@gmail.com. And I'm still soliciting input for a listener-provided content episode. We're doing another Goof, Gaff, and Blunders episode. We've already got several, but keep them coming. Don't be bashful. If we can't laugh at ourselves, we're doomed.
Yep. Absolutely. Tell us the stupidest thing you've ever done modeling.
So if you would like to participate and contribute, please submit these via email to www.plasticmodelmojo.com. Please put GG and B in the subject line so I can get through those quickly and get those printed out for the show notes. So now I'm done, Dave.
All right. After you've sent Mike all your goofs, gaffes, and blunders, if you take a moment to rate this podcast on whatever ratings app that you're listening to us on, or whatever podcast app you're listening to us on, give us a rating, please. If you can see your way, give us 5 stars. It helps drive us up in the algorithm to be more visible to more people. And the other thing we would ask you is, if you have modeling friends who aren't listening to the episode, to the podcast, please turn them on to it. If they're less technologically advanced, you may have to grab their phone and download a podcast listening app for them and get them turned on to listening to us. It is the single biggest way we gain new listeners. So please do that as a favor to us.
While you're doing that, check out the other great podcasts out there in the scale modeling world. We got On the Bench, our Aussie friends from down under, Scale Model Podcast out of Canada, the Plastic Posse Podcast and Model Geeks from right here in the United States, and Just Making Conversation out of the UK. In addition to the podcast, we've got a bunch of guys out there doing some non-podcast content generation via blogs and YouTube channels. Please check out Sprue Pie with Frets with Stephen Lee, who we still are trying to get on as soon as possible. Model Airplane Maker from Chris Wallace. Got to check out his blog and his YouTube channel. He's really killing it these days. Inch High Guy, Mr. Jeff Groves from Indiana. We hope to see him at Indianapolis.
Yeah, we will.
And a Scale Canadian TV from our friend Jim Bates.
Finally, after you've done all that, if you're not a member of your national IPMS chapter, that's IPMS USA here in the United States, IPMS Canada in Canada, IPMS UK in England, IPMS Australia in Australia, obviously. Take a moment, go research them, and consider joining your national organization. IPMS is a worldwide organization with a bunch of national chapters, and those national chapters do a lot to promote scale modeling, to help scale modelers get organized, provides the framework for local chapters to get set up. And as we were saying when we were going through listener mail, going to a local chapter is just one of the best things you can do for your modeling mojo. It will get you fired up to model more. It's a worthy thing to do, and I would appreciate it if you would join your national IPMS chapter.
All right, we've got a few, man. If you've come back and said they're going to join or they're about to join, it's all great. So yeah, join your local club, join the national organization, get into it, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Well, Dave, we're going to take a break right here and have a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Plastic Model Mojo is now brought to you by Model Paint Solutions, your source for Harder Steenbeck airbrushes, David Union power tools, and laboratory-grade mixing, measuring, and storage tools for use with all your model paints, be they acrylic, enamels, or lacquers. Check them out at www.modelpaintsolutions.com.
So, Mike, what's your benchtop look like?
Well, it's been a busy couple of weeks, Dave, but just not with a lot of modeling, unfortunately.
I feel you, brother.
Like I said earlier, something big's in the works outside the hobby that's had me distracted, but I'm really looking forward to be able to tell everybody in my life what's going on. But it's a good deal. That aside, the ZIS 2 sees more and more chipping as the glacier inches forward.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
So far, and I know you're. What would you say? You're about 40% done with chipping?
Oh, that'd be generous. I don't know.
Okay, 30% done with chipping. How many hours have you spent so far to be 30% done on that anti-tank gun?
I don't know. Think we talked about this last time. 6, 7, 8. I don't know. I've been just crawling along trying to get this right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think to do it and do it right is much more time consuming than most people realize. But I do think it's worth it. I think the effect is really fantastic. That lower gun shield that you had on the Facebook page looks awesome.
Well, thanks. And I'm about to get the entire business side of the gun shield done. I got to get on the face side now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then get to work on the split trail. It's just going slow, man. Good grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've not been doing a lot of modeling, which hasn't helped either. Other than that project, you mentioned it earlier as well, but I threw together a T-34 turret I dug out of the stash. Just use a new paint mule.
That's the old Tamiya kit, right?
Well, yeah, it's one of the incarnations of it. It's that CHTZ turret version. But
gotcha. By the way, that is a really nice use of kits, older kits that have been superseded.
I think so. And I just put the turret together. I didn't want to get into the whole thing. I was wondering, though, up at Indy, if somebody's got some built-ups they're blowing out from some estate, I might pick up a finished model.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see that occasionally.
Save myself a little time.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's the only thing I've been working on. I just haven't gotten much done. I've been really distracted in a good way, but it just kind of stoked the build fire when I put that little turret together, even though I wasn't even cleaning mold seams off grab irons or anything. I just threw the thing together.
Yeah.
It's going to start something soon. So I need to finish something.
Good.
Well, I know you've been busy. What have you been doing?
I actually have, after my mojo is much better, especially thanks partly to all the words of encouragement that the listeners sent in. And I appreciate that. I have been working on the M30. I'm just about completely done with the pin washing. I have realized that you clearly know what you're doing, because if I were to do this again, I would not assemble the gun body and the gun shield. I would do, the gun shield and body and the split trail. I would not have united those pieces. I would have done what you did, which is mount the gun on a stick and kept the split trail and wheels as a separate piece, because it's clear to me now that by uniting them all together, I made more work for myself in the weathering department. There are now, awkward angles and stuff like that, as far as getting into the crevices I need to get into, whereas if I had not united the two pieces, it would be worlds easier. So I've learned something, which, let's face it, that's what we want to do. We want to learn. But also, in addition to being almost done with the pin washing and getting ready then to go to some oil dot filter modulation, I've spent a lot of time staring at photographs on the computer, because, again, I know nothing about the M30. There are a couple of preserved examples and a couple of really great walkarounds online. Again, Prime Portal.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have spent, the gun is overall green. Fine. It's overall green. But there are actually a lot of details that are either metallic or color or wooden or silver metallic. Because I know nothing about the real thing, I'm having to stare at these photographs and make notes for myself. Okay, I need to paint this. I need to paint that. I need to paint here before I move on any farther after I get the pin washing done. But again, the internet is our friend, and it's fantastic for that. Speaking of which, I really like what you've done with the breach of the ZIFs 2. And I need to get from you the information on those paints, because I need to go to my local Warhammer or whatever shop here in Louisville and pick up those metallic paints, because I have areas on the M30 where I need to produce the finish that you produced in that breech.
Well, I'll send those along.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The Mosquito is kind of sitting still for the moment because I've been taking my limited time and pouring it into the M30, but I do need to get back to it. As I said earlier in the episode, the biggest challenge for me right now is the fact that with the pandemic letting up, it has made the practice of law much busier. In addition, with the coming of spring, I'm spending weekends instead of huddled in my model room while it's snowing outside. I'm out in the yard cutting the grass, weed eating, trimming. We're going to open the pool in a couple of weeks, so the whole area out there has to be cleaned up. And then, there's the honey. Spring is the time that the honeydew list really grows and grows. So I'm hoping to be more efficient with my time because I think I will have less of it.
Well, I think somebody just filled out their bingo card on that.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll have to do a poolside podcast from Little Jamaica.
Absolutely, man. We are definitely going to do that. Maybe we're even going to have to include some video with that.
We may have to.
We may have to do that.
All right. Well, that's the bench time halftime report.
So, Mike, have you been perusing the kit announcements? Do you have any faves and yawns?
I will go back and forth. I've got 3 faves and a yawn, or maybe 2 faves and a unknown and a yawn.
I got 2 faves and a yawn.
All right. Well, we'll get through it. My first one is Academy has announced a Panzer II Aus F.
Aus F.
Yes,
Has that version been done before?
Yes. Dragon has one. And I think the old Tamiya kit from the 70s is an Aus F as well. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how it compares to the Dragon kit, which probably is unavailable nowadays. I don't know. Academy, I don't have any Academy kits in my stash. I don't know why. A lot of the stuff they've got has been done before, and I wonder if it's just a Korean market kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know that they leased out some of their older armor molds to Airfix, who are suddenly producing 35th scale armor kits. Apparently most of them, though not all, are ex-Academy kits.
So for that one, it's got potential. We'll see how it compares to the Dragon kit, which might be in my stash. I need to dig around and see if I've got that.
It might be in my stash. I love that.
What you got? What's your first one?
Well, you may remember at the beginning of the year we were talking about what got produced and announced and where the holes were in the hobby, and I talked about so many kits coming out that there were now really fewer and fewer holes that I could think of. But one of them that I mentioned was the Williams Brothers C46 kit. Really needed a replacement. Well, Valome has announced a new tool, C46. Actually, I think they're doing 3 different versions. They're doing C46, a Navy version, and I think they might even be doing a civilian version. Now, Valome is not Tamiya, but they have made great progress over the years. So I at least have some hope that this kit will be a real improvement, and it is one of the holes in World War II 72nd scale aircraft that really needed filling. So I'm pretty excited about that. I can't wait to see it.
Up next for me is a company out of Germany called Style Design. And they've got some interesting laser cut and laser engraved structures in 72nd and 35th scale.
As in buildings?
Yes. Of note, they have a Berlin U-Bahn entrance, which is really kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
With the big blue U sign, the lighted sign.
Gotcha.
And all that. And they've got a Bauernhaus. It's German, obviously, but it's a farmer peasant's house, a log structure. Would be really great in a diorama in Poland or central and northern Russia.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really cool things.
What's
Really
the
worth
name of the company again?
Style Design.
Style Design.
Yeah, check them out on ScaleMates at least, or you can probably find them just doing a Google search. That Ubon entrance is something I might buy. I might pick that up.
Really?
I'm a wannabe dioramist.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. I spent some time in Berlin in high school, and that whole Battle of Berlin's always been fascinating to me.
Now, you spent some time in Berlin. Hopefully you were on the right side of the wall.
I was on both sides of the wall, but primarily on the western side of the wall.
Good. Didn't want you working for the Stasi.
Well, I mean, back then, Berlin, well, still is, but in the divided world, West Berlin was closer to Poland than West Germany.
Yes. Yep.
You got another fave?
Yes, I do. Special Hobby has announced a Tachikawa Ki-54 Hickory. The Ki-54 was a World War II Japanese light transport and crew trainer aircraft. It's one of the few remaining hulls in 72nd scale Japanese aircraft. It's an attractive airplane, and really, again, it's one. If you wanted to build all of the Japanese World War II aircraft, it was one of the places where you were going to have to resort to resin or vacuform. I'm not even sure there's a resin kit of it. You might have had to resort purely to vacuform. So to see an injection molded kit by Special Hobby is good news. So I can't wait to pick that one up. It will definitely go into my Japanese collection.
Well, I got another fave or another recommended
All right.
checkout anyway.
All right.
It's a company out of Russia called OKB Grigorov.
Yep.
They've got a lot of cool things across many scales and genre on their website.
Yes, they do. Their 700 scale ships and subs are really fantastic.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going a completely different direction. Folks need to check out their 172nd scale armor upgrades.
Yes.
They've got some T-34 turrets in 72nd scale that have as many parts as a 35th scale turret.
Yep.
Now that may be good or bad, but they look really, really nice. And
their detail is amazing. I actually own one OKB Grigorov kit. I own a 700 scale submarine.
Imagine that.
The Israeli version of the German Model 212 diesel electric submarine.
You know, since I built that little Airfix Morris and Beaufort's, I've kind of got an itch to do another 72nd scale armor project.
We've got him.
Now, maybe that new model collect King Tiger, but OKB Grigorov has got me interested in maybe something else. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
fun stuff.
Do something and upgrade it.
Oh yeah. You got another favor, a yawn?
I'm gonna yawn this time, and guys, I apologize for picking on Peplats again. They've announced a resin kit of the Focke-Wulf FWP281. It's another one of these Luft 46 paper Luft items. And you know what? I don't mean to pick on it. I really don't. And I actually have a couple of Luft 46 kits in my collection. So I've got nothing super against it, but it's like at this point, with especially in regard to the Luftwaffe, we are stretching to find things. It's kind of the equivalent of that Model Collect P1000 with a cruiser turret on a or pocket battleship turret on a tank.
Yeah, it's like a Jawa sandcrawler with the
exactly. Hey, see, that's what you can do with the extra parts. You can make a Jawa sandcrawler.
Yeah, maybe.
So, do you have a final one?
I've got a yawn. It's a little bit of a repeat.
Lay it on me, brother.
But now the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Okay.
Italy's M42 Simavente new tool kit. Yeah, right.
You don't think it's a new tool?
Well, Modeling News has a build review.
Is it not a new tool?
So, no, not much new tool in the box.
Okay.
Possibly new molds from the original tool design.
Gotcha.
And it's got gluable rubber band tracks.
Ooh, that's not good. Well, of course, the thing is that there will be aftermarket tracks. You know what?
There already are.
Yeah. I wish there were more good Italian armor kits, because some of the Italian armor stuff is just really neat looking.
Well, there is. It's all in resin, though.
Yeah.
So that's the final frontier for injection molded plastic.
There you go. Well, them in Poland, and we're starting to get our Polish stuff.
Italy, the final frontier. Well, our special segment tonight is a real treat. We've got the 2021 Las Vegas National Convention Chairman Bob Lomassaro with us. So let's get right into that. It's countdown to Vegas, Dave.
Yep, I cannot wait.
Well, we got a special treat tonight, but before we get to that, we are 134 days away from the time of this recording to the IPMS National Convention in stellar Las Vegas, Nevada.
Woo!
And we've got a special treat tonight. We're not going to run down our email exchanges with Bob. We actually have Mr. Bob Lomassaro on the line with us tonight, who's the IPMS National Convention Chairman from the Las Vegas chapter. Bob, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, it's great to be with you guys tonight. I'm a big fan of the show, and it's a real pleasure to have me on. And I got to tell you guys, you've been doing a great job of promoting the Nationals here in Las Vegas. And from my entire team, we really appreciate it. Thanks very much, guys.
Well, thank you for coming on, Bob. And I've got just one question.
Good.
What sort of blackmail did people have on you in order to convince you to take on the job of National Contest Chairman? Was it pictures? Did it involve goats? What was it?
They threatened that FBI relocation program over my head, and boy, it got me to do it.
Okay, I knew there had to be something, because no man in his right mind would voluntarily take on the job.
No, it takes a certain amount of insanity to take this task on. And we've done a local show over the years here in Las Vegas called the Best of the West, and it's grown from a small show into a fairly large, probably one of the largest shows in our area. And we got a lot of experience, and we got a lot of great guys, and we assumed this was just going to be a somewhat larger version of that. And I can tell you, it's not. It makes my other show, look like a garage sale. This is pretty big.
Well, how did that come about?
We've been talking about it for years. A few of the guys in the club, and probably my right-hand man in the club is Joe Porche, which I know is a big supporter of the podcast as well. We've been talking about it, kicking the ball around for quite some time. And, we actually threw our first bid in back in 2017 at Columbia. Joe, he drove across the country, and he put our bid in, and it wasn't accepted. And then we just kind of sat on it for a little while. We passed up 2018, and then I really can't tell you how it came about, but then all of a sudden we got hot on the idea again, and we decided to put a bid in Chattanooga. And Pete, my raffle coordinator, and I and Joe, we traveled to Chattanooga, and we submitted a bid, and it got accepted, and it was it was a lot of fun. And then we got back to Vegas, and it was like, okay, what the hell do we do now? It's like, what's next? We got the bid, and we're all patting ourselves on the back, and then it was, what the heck did we just do?
You're like the dog. You're like the dog who caught the car.
Yeah, that's probably the best description yet of how that went. We got back, and then we had a plan already laid out of what we were going to do, and by the time we got back, we just threw the plan into gear. But I got to tell you, this is, and most people don't know this, but I used to be a rock show producer here in town on the side, and I used to produce rock and roll shows at the big casinos. And I figured, between Best of the West and my experience with the Legend of Rocks, that this could be something we can handle. And it's just turned out to be just so much larger than that. And I think the biggest thing is there's no real how-to guide on how to do it. you're kind of left to your own demise. And I want to throw a shout out to two guys that probably they've been a fantastic help to us, and that is Mike Moore at Chattanooga, who was the chairman of his show, and Len Philhofer from San Marcos. And those guys were just tremendous. They got with us right away, and they started sending us all their paperwork and what they call their big rocks list. It's kind of like a spreadsheet of what needs to get done. And they kind of walked us through the beginning of it and got us going. And I tell you, without those guys, we'd still be scratching our heads. They're two great guys.
Bob, you're about to join a very exclusive secret society, which is former IPMS Nationals managers. It is a very select group of guys, and they really do help each other out. There are guys out there who have put on multiple national conventions.
Well, they really do. And without those guys, there really isn't a playbook. So without the previous chairman, I got to be honest, I wouldn't know how to even start this. And, I'm honored to be a part of that club. And if we hold a reunion in the future, I hope it's going to be in an old folks home, because that's where I'm going to be after this convention. I'm going to convalescing.
As of this moment, Bob, why don't you give us some numbers as far as room nights, reservation, or registrations, stuff like that, just so that everybody knows the basics of where things stand right now.
Sure. And I'll tell you what, we're really, really excited, with COVID and everything. It's been a little nervous. We're not exactly certain of what's going to happen. And I'll get to that in a second, but it was, I watched closely what was going on with San Marcos, and I kept going out to Len thinking, man, oh man, that poor guy, he's got one hell of a job. And I says, thank God I'm not in his shoes. And then a couple of months later, I'm wearing his shoes. It's been pretty frustrating, but we're really excited. As of right now, we broke the 3,000 room night sold to date so far, which is kind of a big number. Orlando broke the record in 2012 with 3,125 room nights. And then we're coming up right behind them with 3,000 room nights. So we're really excited about that. And then we just opened registration, as you know, on Thursday morning. And within a 4-day period, we booked 510 pre-registrations. What's kind of exciting about that is, they say that within the first 10 days of opening pre-registration, you can gauge what type of attendance you're going to get at your show. And you just take whoever pre-registered and then, times it by 2. So within 4 days, we did 510 pre-registrations, and that would put us on track for over 1,000 registered attendees. And we're just blown away by that.
Given the fact that due to circumstances, San Marcos didn't happen last year, there is a built-up demand that I think you all are going to be the victim/beneficiary of.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if Vegas doesn't turn out to be the largest West Coast convention.
Yeah, at this point, so would I. I understand, and I really feel bad again for those guys in San Marcos. But speaking with everybody, and I get dozens of emails a day from people all over the world at this point, and there really is a lot of pent up excitement. I think guys at this point, guys and gals, modelers, they'd walk over broken glass, through a hurricane to get to an IPMS convention at this point. And we're just so thrilled and honored to be that convention here, for everybody. And, the model numbers are going to be staggering. You figure you got 2 years worth of built up arsenal of kits that, many of which we're going to be taking to San Marcos. So we're expecting, again, I don't know about attendance, but we're going to get record numbers of models. The numbers on that are just going to be over the top. Atlanta, for example, they got like 3,236 in 2005, followed by Chattanooga in 2019. And I think we're going to blow past 3,000 easily.
Well, I would not be surprised for that very reason.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we really want to do a good job for everybody. It's kind of funny. We've gotten a slew of emails. I can't even tell you how many I get constantly. And we get a lot of emails and support, a lot of guys thanking us for the job that we're doing in an environment such as this and for just hosting the convention. So, there's a lot of great people out there. And then you always get the oddball who sends you an email complaining about something, but for the most part, I had one the other day. Some guy wrote in, he opened the email up with, "Your website sucks." And it's like he went into a list of things he didn't like about what we were doing, and he complained all the way through the email.
Wait a minute, a modeler who complains? I've never heard of such a thing before.
I'll tell you guys a funny story if you want to hear about a modeler who's unhappy from the beginning. Is when we were in Chattanooga and we did our presentation, we really pulled out all the stops. I had Elvis singing in the background of our presentation, and I had lights and all kinds of stuff. We really did. It was like a floor show we did for a presentation. And we had printed up these big laminated high gloss portfolios, and we handed them out. And I was really proud of these things. And halfway through the presentation, some guy got up and he threw the book at me from across the room because he was upset about room numbers or pricing. And it just goes to show you just can't make everybody happy.
Well, and that is just not to go too far afield, because I've got another question for you, but that is one thing that modelers don't seem to have a realistic grasp on, which is what hotel rooms at decent hotels go for nowadays.
In big cities, yeah.
Yeah, in big cities. And if you had a convention and your room nights were $99 a night, you'd still get people complaining how outrageously high it is.
Yeah.
It just floors me.
We really got lucky, and we negotiated an astronomical deal with the Rio, with the $89 room night. And what people don't realize, whether the room is $89 or $289, there are taxes, there are state fees and stuff that go on top of that. And, I've traveled, to Chattanooga, and I went to Phoenix for the Nationals in 2018, and I paid well more than what the Rio is charging for a room. And that's, right in the building. So, I think it's a great venue. The everything that anybody would want is right there. 4 pools and restaurants and bars, and now that everything's opening up, I think it's just a great venue, and I know we're excited about it, but there's always going to be somebody who's going to complain.
Having stayed at the Rio previously, I can echo everything you said. It is a really, really nice facility, and I don't think anybody is going to be unhappy with the accommodations and the available food and stuff like that.
No, I don't think so either. I'm a local here, and we eat there, and the restaurants are great. The facility's great. The location is just fantastic. It's off the strip.
Right.
And if everybody wanted a suite, we could have booked it at the Bellagio, and it would have been $289 a night. But I think, and we toured the rooms, and I want to let everybody know, there's those photos that I post, they're realistic photos. We toured the rooms. We were real careful. We were looking at other facilities as well. We were looking for something, obviously, that we can afford, and then we really wanted to provide the best accommodations possible at the least amount of money for our attendees. And the rooms and everything in the Rio and the facilities are just, fantastic. I think everybody's going to be happy.
One thing I did want to ask you is, how are trophy sponsorships coming along? A lot of people who have never put on a national or maybe attended, very few of them don't realize how big a chunk the trophy package is and how vital sponsorships are for the trophy packages. So how are yours doing?
Actually, we got a really big boost with the pre-registration. It's been something that's been concerning me. There's nothing inexpensive about putting on a show in Vegas. With all it's the convention capital of the world, and these conventions are huge. So they're not, they're used to charging an exorbitant amount of money for a convention. We're coming in relatively on a small budget, and everything's costing us money, from tables to chairs to electricity to, Wi-Fi hookups and whatnot. So, things the money that we can bring in to help support the show, like trophy sponsors, it's really important, and we're doing well. we really also wanted to provide a really good looking national type, a national level trophy. I mean, we didn't want to put something out that was homemade and, in the backyard. We wanted to be able to budget that in so that when someone took home a national trophy from Las Vegas, they're going to be proud to display it. So as of right now, I mean, we're probably, and I can't even believe I'm saying this because just a few weeks ago, I was pretty concerned, but we're like 80% sold out on trophies. There's only about 50 left.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
We've been pushing that for, gosh, I guess probably 3 or 4 months now, haven't we?
And every time you do, I get a chill run up my back by saying, "Yeah, baby, go," because it's these little things that help bring the show. There's only 2 ways of bringing money in. I mean, 3 ways. Obviously, trophy sponsors are really, really important, and most of that, a good portion of that money goes to actually buy a trophy. So it's not, it's not something that's not air you're buying. We actually have to buy these trophies. And then obviously vendor sales and then registration. But we were blown away when we looked at this from the very beginning, on just how expensive the show is going to be here. And I think that my executive board, my guys, and my right hand man Joe, I think everybody's just done a great job of bringing this thing in, hopefully on a reasonable budget, and still provide excellent services and a great time to all our attendees. And that's really our goal. Contrary to the guy that wrote in and said, my website sucks. We really are trying to do a great show, for our attendees. We really want everybody to have a good time. And, after Chattanooga, that's a tough act to follow. So,
I am here to tell you, Bob, I've been to 23 nationals now over the years. And there are ones I remember fondly. There are ones that were really top of the line. I've never been to one that I considered bad. But Chattanooga took the bar and moved it up big time. So they gave you big shoes to fill.
And when we left there, I mean, we were blown away by the size of everything and how well everything ran. It was nearly a flawless show. And
yes,
and
absolutely.
I congratulate Mike Moore and his team, man. Those guys just knocked the cover off the ball.
When he gets out of the insane asylum, I'm sure that he will be really pleased at all of the praise that he's gotten for that show.
The 2 of us are going to be making baskets in a matter of a few more months. We'll be both on the lawn in our pajamas making baskets together,
or macaroni pictures.
Yeah, exactly. When we left there, I mean, we were so happy for those guys. They did a great job. They put on a great show. We had a great time. And then when we left, we looked at each other and said, "Oh my God, we got to follow this show." Obviously we had to follow San Marcos, and I'm sure their show would have been good too. But with the most recent memory of Chattanooga, I says, "Oh my God, man, we got to follow this thing." I mean, you're almost wishing that the show before you is a flop so that you can really shine. But I wouldn't wish that on it.
Right. Speaking of vendor tables, you're sold out, right?
Yeah, we're sold out of tables. We originally were going to put in, a few more tables, but we're thinking ahead with, social distancing. So we took a few tables out. So we are now officially sold out of tables. Joe has just been doing an astronomical job with that. We have received a couple of cancellations, but he also has a long list of standby vendors. And each time one cancels, the table is sold the same day. So, we continue to be sold out of tables, and we really got some great vendors still. Even with everything that's going on internationally, our vendors are there, and they've been supporting the show. They were about as excited about it as we are. Great guys.
All right, I'm going to let Mike ask you a couple of questions
so
that I don't because I could talk nationals all day long.
Well, keep talking, Dave. Go for it.
Okay. I have a huge collection of nationals T-shirts, as you can imagine, that I drag out very rarely. So they're all still in really good condition. You all are actually producing 2 different shirts this year?
Yeah, we're doing. That was a funny thing. We wanted to do something that was going to be kind of gitchy for Las Vegas. We wanted to do something on a theme, and I actually, not to pat myself on the back, I'm the dopey graphic artist that did those T-shirts. So I produced two versions, one with the Jets and one with the Alien. because Vegas is always home to aliens. And we took it out and we kind of did like a test at a local show, just a sale, a model sale, to see who would like them. And it turns out that they liked both of them. So we decided to go with both of them. We'll make them both national shirts. I tied in, some of the same designs to both shirts. And I think it's going to be fun, no matter which one you get or both.
Now, you realize now that you've put me in the conundrum that I have to buy both shirts.
Well, of course you do. I'm buying both.
I don't want anybody to think that due to my marketing experience that was intentional, but it's appreciated. And we're keeping, we have a local source for everything. We're keeping everything local with few exceptions. So we thought that would be a good idea. And the one advantage that we have is that being it is local is that I can really gauge what the sale are going to be, with the pre-registration, and then based on my total availability of products, caps and T-shirts, based on what we think the numbers are going to be, so that we don't have much left over. So far, they're running neck and neck. The Jets and the Alien are kind of running neck and neck.
It's because everybody's buying two.
Yes, that's right.
buying one or the other or two.
Let me ask you a question. And this comes from having been to so many over the years and seeing them grow. The Nationals got to a point where it got so big, it almost became more than a single club could handle. So you saw numerous instances over the past number of years of shows being more than one chapter being involved in putting on a show. And now with Vegas being out there kind of, you all are in the West are a little more spread out. Are you relying just on your Vegas crew for staffing?
No, for staffing, I would probably have to say that we're counting on a lot of volunteers. We've got a great relationship with a lot of the local IPMS chapters. The nearest ones are in California, and we're really hoping on, bringing in a lot of volunteers to help staff the show. And, we do plug the volunteers on the website and our Facebook page. And, so far we're getting a pretty good list. So we are counting on, I got to be honest, we couldn't do it on just the staff that we have. So we are counting on volunteers. The organization of the show and the execution of the show and the planning is solely with my club alone. And I think that's primarily because logistics, like you mentioned, the nearest club to us, the nearest IPMS chapter is in San Diego. That's 4.5 hours away, or Phoenix, which is 5 hours away. And it's just kind of impractical, to get people at that distance involved on a regular basis when it comes to, attending meetings and buying this and making these arrangements. So we really have depended upon just my guys. And like I mentioned earlier, we've put on a few shows, and I've got a really great team. These guys, they're experienced and they're committed. And although this show is turning out to be much larger than anything we've ever imagined, so far my guys are doing a great job. But I want to throw something out there that inevitably the bulk of the work, does kind of fall on a selected few. And and it's no different here as well. I got to say that my right-hand guy is, without his help, my right-hand guy, we would not be able to put this show on. And that guy is Joe Porche. He's our vendor coordinator, and he is also our regional coordinator. And Joe, in all my years of being in the hobby, which is almost 50 years, Joe, without a doubt, is one of the most committed guys to this hobby that I have ever encountered. And I don't want to go into anything personal, but like Joe has been fighting some serious health issues. And through it all, he has never stopped working on this show. And without his help, I got to tell you, I don't think there would be a convention this year in Las Vegas. So I got to do a big shout out to my right-hand man and my friend, Joe Porche.
Let me ask you a little bit about registration. Are you all going to do a dry? I know you're hoping most people will pre-register. That really helps the local chapter, because if you have a lot of people who show up and register day of, you get long lines, you get grumbling, you get all that. So any listeners out there, if you're going, pre-register. Are you planning a dry run of the registration system for day of?
Yes. Oh, for the day of the show?
Practicing it before the day
Yeah,
of.
actually, we were lucky. We got the computers from all the computers and the printers were in San Marcos, obviously for that show,
Right.
and then they mailed everything to us probably 7-8 months ago. And there's software program on there that was developed by a gentleman named Ed Sunder I think he's out of Chattanooga, and he had developed a software program which just makes this really easy. But nonetheless, there's a lot of loose ends and there's a lot involved in it. So we've been holding practice registration for the last couple of months, actually.
That's smart.
Yeah, we've been trying to stay ahead of the curve. And what was nice about it is that Ed had designed the live site, and then he also designed a totally separate test site. So we've been on that test site, and we're making a mess out of the damn thing. But that's really what it's designed to do. And we've been practicing registrations on that now for a couple of months. Inevitably now, we just got our first 2 batches of registrations, and we preloaded those. What I did with those is I loaded them into the test site, and my guys have been working on those. And although they're current, these are real live 2021 registrants. We've been working on those on the test site, and we've been finding a couple little bugs and things that need to be adjusted. So I'm actually meeting with a phone meeting tomorrow with Ed to go over some of those things, and then we're going to get them worked out before we import all the information over to the live site, so that we can eliminate a lot of those problems. And
I will tell you that, Bob, that is the single biggest thing I think that a local club hosting a national can do, is practice that sort of stuff to eliminate those bugs ahead of time. Because if you don't and you encounter them day of, trying to figure out the fix on the fly, it backs up registration and people get antsy. And
we're not going to mention the show, but I've been to a couple, and the line was out the door. There was a 4-hour wait. So with that in mind, and then again, another big plug for Chattanooga, and then seeing how well their process ran, we're left with no choice but to make this a good process as well. And thankfully, Ed had designed this software and was willing to give it out to all future hosts. So we're utilizing this, and we're really trying to work out those bugs ahead of time. And one of the things that I think that we're excited about, I'm really pleased with, I should say, is that with my guys, we've been working on every aspect of this, for the past year. In fact, we've been driving IPMS USA crazy. We've been so far ahead of the curve with so much of it that they keep telling us, slow down. You got weeks and months to go. So we're trying to stay ahead. We really want to do a great job and at least live up to what those guys did in Chattanooga. I don't think we can exceed it, but we really want to just live up to it.
Well, we hope you do.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
A lot of people hope we do. Yeah, we're excited, and we really want to do the best that we possibly can on that. And especially following those guys. It's a tough act to follow.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna corner you when the show's wrapping up this August, right as the last day is gonna come around. I'm gonna corner you and ask you when you're gonna do it again.
Oh, I can give you a commitment right now on that one. Never.
I know a whole lot of show chairman, IPMS national show chairman, who said that exact very thing, who ended up hosting multiple nationals.
Really? I mean,
yes.
For the sake of Las Vegas, I mean, we would love to see it come back here again. But I got to tell you, this is a young man's game, hosting a convention. It's not for the weak or the timid or the aged. It's really you got to be on your A game, and it's not an easy thing to do. So I don't really know. It'd be great to have it out this way again. I would love to see it, a convention out in the LA, San Diego area at some point in California, we would definitely sign up and help those guys out. But I don't know. Our other problem with Vegas is that it just keeps getting more and more cost prohibitive, to put a show of this nature on.
Without revealing too much, I can tell you that that's a constant conversation inside IPMS USA.
Yeah.
That large cities just become cost prohibitive. Two of the recent really good conventions, Omaha and Chattanooga. One of the things about both of them is they're not, while they're big cities, but they're not Las Vegas. They're not Chicago. They're not, cities like that where just because of the nature of economics, it's real hard to hold a convention with our large size demand, but relatively small attendance demand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got two things going for us that work to our advantage and disadvantage. The one advantage is it's Las Vegas, and the other disadvantage that we have is it's Las Vegas, and being as a convention capital, like when CES comes in, it's $1 million convention. They're dropping millions of dollars, and the facilities that are out here, and we happen to get a really large one. We got lucky. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for convention space. And, and like you say, it's a large show. I mean, we're looking at a lot of people and a lot of square footage, but in reality, it's a really small show in relation to what we get out here in Las Vegas. And it's only going up. And I don't even know, even if we're crazy enough to do it again, I don't know if it's going to be financially possible for us to pull it off, in a reasonable amount of money. I hope so. It'd be great.
Yep. No, I can't wait to go to Vegas.
Well, Bob, is there anything else you want to make the listeners aware of while we got you here on this segment? We can have you back at a later date, maybe when we get closer to the show, but
oh, that would be great. Yeah, just keep those pre-registrations coming in. It'll save you a tremendous amount of time. We're not expecting anything at this point. I mean, Vegas is opening up, weekly. The big open date for basically everything is on June 1. And I know I get about 40, 50 emails a day, and, people are excited and they want to know about the shows. Our date for practically having everything open is June. And we're anticipating that that's going to be the time when people can start buying tickets to concerts and shows and, and everything else. The pre-registration is still going to be the key. With the record numbers that we're getting, we really don't want long lines out the door, and we have to be conscious at this point, of social distancing and whatever's going to be in place, come August. So if everybody would just, by all means pre-register, get your paperwork in, and be patient with the team and IPMS, it'll make for a better show. And then, one of the things that we try and did was we offered model registration in advance as well. If you go on our website, there are fillable PDFs where guys can go on and actually complete all their model paperwork before they get on the show. And it's, they're fillable PDFs, fill them out, save them, print them. And those little things like that are going to save a lot of time for not only the attendee himself, but for everybody before and after him. So, those things could be real helpful.
And I'm here to echo that. Listen, the convention is 4 days, but it's 4 days in model heaven, and it flies by really quickly. And one thing you don't want to do is waste a lot of time sitting at a table filling out forms. So get your model forms filled out, printed, and put with your models that you're going to take to the show, so that combine that with pre-registration, you'll get to spend a whole lot more time in the vendor room, in the model room, or attending the seminars. And you'll have a much better experience if you do that.
Absolutely. And I guess before you guys throw me off this thing, I just got one little shout out left, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Okay? Absolutely.
Okay, I want to do a shout out to Mike and Dave from Model Mojo Podcast. You guys, and you guys do a great show, and I know there's other shows on there as well that you're out there. They're all really good. You guys just do a great job. And I say this to you guys, and I say it to all the others as well. You probably don't have any idea on how really you're building the whole model community and enhancing the model experience. So I got to give you guys a shout out and a kudos. You guys do a great, all you guys out in podcast land. You really bring modeling to people that have probably been isolated, and maybe they don't have an IPMS chapter or even a local show, and you get everybody involved in a really positive way. And I got to give you guys a real big shout out, pat on the back. You guys do a great job.
We appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much. And a shout out back to you, because if there weren't people insane enough like you to volunteer to be show chairman for an IPMS National, I wouldn't get to go and spend 4 days every year, or almost every year, having the time of my life. So
Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate people like you stepping up and doing that.
Well, thank you. The key word.
When Mike gets out of that mental hospital, I'm going to tell him the same thing.
Yeah, the key word you said, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I sincerely, I do appreciate that. But the key word in what you said was insane enough.
Yes.
Nobody in their right mind, I think, takes on a convention like this. So insanity is the key ingredient. It doesn't take a lot of other skills other than insanity. And a good team. I got a good team.
You know what they say? Insanity is just the flip side of genius.
Not my case. It's insanity. There's no genius.
Take the credit.
If it was genius, I'd be sitting here building models instead of doing this crazy job. But
well, we'll let you get back to building some models.
Oh, I hope so. That'd be nice. That's what this hobby is all for. I can listen to you guys and build a model.
There you go.
Well, we'll wrap it up then, Bob. Thanks for joining us all the way across the country. We got a little bit of time difference there to deal with, but not too bad. Just a couple hours maybe.
Yep.
Maybe 3.
Thanks again, guys. It's been my pleasure, and again, thanks for helping us with the show. And I look forward to seeing you guys out there. I understand that Gumball Head is the drink of choice, so we're gonna be doing a little research in our local liquor stores to see if we can get enough Gumball to keep you guys going for 4 days.
That sounds good.
All right, Bob. Well, take it easy, man, and keep up the good work, and we'll keep plugging you on our end until D-Day gets here.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dave. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome.
So, Mike, that was great to hear about the upcoming convention. I'm busting at the seams. I cannot wait to get to Las Vegas and go to a national again. 2 years is too long for me, man. So, do you have any shout outs for the episode?
I do. Dave and I wish to shout out and thank the following listeners for their general support of Plastic Model Mojo. Episode 35 support comes from Eric Simmelmeer and Mr. Bob Bear. So, gentlemen, thank you for your contributions. All of these contributions help us bring Plastic Model Mojo to you and everybody else. If anyone would like to contribute to our show, you may do so at www.plasticmodelmojo.com. And you can use the heart icon in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, or the links at the beginning or the end of the show notes for the latest episode, if we have show notes. We love the support everybody's providing us, and it goes a long way to helping us bring you the show. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for the support. We really appreciate it.
It really does. And guys, one of the things my shout outs for the month are, or for the episode are, a couple of model contests. First is IPMS Houston is holding a model contest on May 8th. Google IPMS Houston, and you should find their website and get the information for their contest. I am thrilled to see contests coming back. For me, it's a really great aspect of modeling. Not so much the contest itself, although I love seeing what everybody's building, and I'm wowed by many of the entries. But the social aspect that model contests bring are fantastic. Speaking of that, the other shout out is April 17th, Indianapolis, IPMS Indy. Roscoe Turner chapter is holding their invitational contest. This will be the first contest that Mike and I have been to since COVID hit last year.
It was also the last contest we ever went to.
Exactly. We've been locked in our houses for a year.
Well, Dave, we're getting to the end of this.
I know, man. I know. Spring is on us.
Spring is on us. Man, this Eagle Rare is good.
Well, you know what? This Raging Eagle isn't bad. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice, but definitely get me through an episode.
As they say, Dave, so many kids.
So little time, Mike. Talk to you soon.
Catch you next time.